The Badgers travel to Champaign on Saturday, to take on Illinois in a 2:30 p.m. game that will be televised by BTN. Head coach Paul Chryst is here. We'll have some opening comments and take questions.
Well, certainly appreciative of the efforts and told the guys after the game such it's hard to win games, and certainly in conference, and they did enough things to give us a chance to win, and the one thing I like about this group is they know the areas they can improve upon, and I think we need to get better in really all facets. And yet the group, they own that, and they want to be coached. And so looking forward to this week and playing, in my opinion, a very good Illinois team.
Paul, with Corey so close to playing this past week, do you fully expect him to be out there against Illinois?
Well, I think with Corey, he's ahead of what people thought, and he was excited to be back in uniform. I think that's part of it. He was one of the first guys onto the field, and looking forward to him practicing this week and really seeing how it goes for him. And there's a lot of steps that go into it, and Corey hadn't. He played a little bit in the Alabama game, hadn't played for a while, and so looking forward to him working, and we'll know, and it'll be good when we get him there, and there's still no guarantees that on the timetable or, how it goes. We just got to keep taking day by day and help him through it.
Jeff.
Paul, is it mostly a mental barrier for Corey, like any other guy who's coming back from an injury, to feel comfortable that he's ready to go in his own mind?
I think there's some, the physical parts of it too, because the Alabama game, and then tried to let it calm down, so that's relative inactivity, and then it's not calming down, so now we need to have the surgery. So it's getting himself back, so the physical components of getting yourself back into shape, and then there's back into football playing shape. And I think there's a confidence that comes with probably both, what was injured and comfortable and therefore confident in your playing. So I think there's probably both, but I'd say there's as much physical as mental, I would think.
Illinois quarterback Wes Hunt, he looks pretty good. Seems to protect the football pretty well too, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he's a good player. I remember watching him when he was in high school, and I think he's playing really well right now. I think their team is, and I think they've got good receivers to throw to. I think the back is, they're running the ball well, and so I think it's kind of clicking for him, and it's going to be an obvious challenge for us. And I think our guys will, as they continue to study and look at more Illinois film, they're going to see that, and they'll be excited for that.
Paul, you're playing a lot of freshmen and redshirt freshmen. Did you expect that, and what do you think the net effect of that has been?
Thought that we would be playing some young guys, not necessarily did I think it would be this many. Yeah, that's why I give Michael Dieter a lot of credit. You were talking about a freshman lineman, and then to slide him over and play center. And best part was the way he embraced it, and and certainly, he didn't grade out 100%. I don't think many linemen do, but you appreciate that. I think that Alec Ingold didn't project him playing running back. I couldn't say that I knew Chryst would be that quick of a learn to jump in. And then, so with the redshirt freshman, I think with some of the injuries we had in the offensive line, we thought we'd be playing one or two. Michael certainly, and if you're going to ask us, it'd be Bo, Benchwall, and Jacob Maxwell, Mike Kapoy played a lot. So I guess you never really know going in, but I think it's probably more than I would have guessed. And I think the byproduct is they're gaining valuable experience.
Paul, on the missed field goal you had, could you tell it was blocked? And when you have a block like that, is that something that's correctable? Was it a mistake anywhere, or is it just something that kind of happens?
I think it's all that. I mean, from our end of it, we think that there's things you can do to control, especially when pressure comes from the outside. Is the operation, the time, is that what it should be? And then everyone's got to do their job in protection. And I thought he got a hand on it, and I thought that was a big play. We had a chance to go into the halftime with a little bit of momentum, and we didn't. And so I think there are areas there we have to and need to correct and clean up.
Dennis?
Paul, can you talk about the overall improvement of the defense, and specifically Orr and Edwards, their progress this season?
Yeah, I think that, I continually enjoy seeing our defense grow and kind of rise up to the different challenges and situations they're in. And I thought both Chryst and TJ, TJ had, 16 tackles, and I thought they were both playing confident and trusting their eyes. And I also think that it was a great example of how everyone else contributes to that. I think that, I think there was part of the plan by our opponent was to, not let Vince and Joe beat him. And I thought we had, the 3 down linemen. I thought they did a really good job. I thought, in some ways, run defense, maybe one of their better performances. And so I think, and I don't want to say the byproduct, because I think TJ and Chryst did some things on their own merit, but it's also, I thought it was a pretty good illustration of collectively how teams are going to choose to attack us. And we know we're going to be challenged differently this week by Illinois, and like we said, I think they're got good players and a good scheme. But it was fun to see those two kind of trust themselves and trigger, and yet I think it was culmination of good team defense.
Zach?
Paul, DJ working at wide receiver, what went into that move, and do you envision it being something long term?
Right now, DJ came to me and wanted to. Trying to find a way. He said, I want to be able to help this team, and I don't feel like I'm doing it right now. He goes, I know I'm important, and yet I think I can help, and so appreciate that. You know what? For right now, it is. And I told him, I said, it's something I'm on board for the rest of the season, and then let's visit again, because I think he's a heck of a teammate is what he is. You talk to our guys on our team, and they think the world of him. And I'm talking about young guys. I'm talking about guys in his class, but I'm also talking about our seniors. And I think there's a couple different areas that he can help us. And part of that's, he's been working with our, special teams. And, he did some things at receiver pretty nice. He's a natural athlete. He was a heck of a basketball player, heck of a competitor. So I'm looking forward to seeing maybe how it plays out. I really don't know exactly, but love having him on this team, and guys love him being a teammate. And it's pretty neat how he came to it, and we'll see how the story ends for this year.
Paul, you and the defense consistently say they can improve. If there's one spot that you say they need to get better at, what would it be?
Well, we went through that, as a staff, and I think that, some guys on the team, if you look at defensively, we thought some guys can do a better job, and we missed a couple of open field tackles, and a couple other guys, it was their hand placement and pad level in the run game. we can go real generic. We've got to defensively, certain areas. Offensively, we got to be better in the red zone. But I think you got to get more specific with your players to help them. Those are they get that and they know it. But I think you got to, when you're coaching guys, you got to give them very specific things. And so we do that with each position. But even then, within the position, you've got. Not all the coaching points are the same for all 5 offensive linemen, and the same with Inoke. You go down the list. So I think, we've got to execute better. That you can put across the board, and then I think within that and how you can execute falls into more specifics at each position.
Paul, do you know Bill Cubitt, and can you imagine going through a change like that in the middle of a season as a coordinator or an assistant coach, all of a sudden elevated to that spot?
I know of him and very well respected in coaching. I don't know him, and I think that it's really unique, and yet I think I give them and I think the team credit because I think they're focusing on the season and they're playing well, and so whatever it is they're doing, I think you got to tip your hat to them because they're doing it, and you throw on the film and they're playing well and kids are playing hard, and they look to be well coached, and I think they got good players doing it. So I give them a lot of credit. No, I haven't been in something quite like that, so I give them a lot of credit.
Jeff?
Paul, after Saturday, I think you said you were hopeful that Derek Tyndall was just a bruise, I think you called it. Do you know any more at this point? And also, it sounded like Dan Volz was close last week. Do you anticipate both those guys might be available this week?
I do anticipate both of them being available. And yesterday, Derek was better than Saturday. And, Dan didn't play Saturday, so it kind of felt better, and so that was so do anticipate them both going.
Do you anticipate Taiwan Deal being back, or is he going to miss another week?
That I don't know yet. Taiwan hasn't done anything over the weekend, and so probably be the middle of the week that we'd find that out.
Dennis?
The defenses in the Big Ten, 6 of the top 20 scoring and total defenses are in the conference. You guys are one of them, I think 3rd nationally now. What is it about the Big Ten that turns out such great defense? Is it just the nature of the players being recruited or the area or what?
I don't think it's ever just that simple. I think there's some really good football coaches coaching some really good football players, and I think that lends itself to it. I know, I've spent more time obviously just with our group, and I think that can be said. I think Dave does a nice job of coordinating our defense, and I think Tim and Oke and Durante do a great job of teaching along with Dave, and I think we've got some good football players, and we're developing other players, and so I don't know, Dennis, on the whole, what that means or why that is. And it's even harder, even with statistics in general. And you take a look, and there used to be a time when conference stats, at the end of the year, you could match them kind of all up because you played each other and you at least played similar teams. And now you have some of the same opponents, but not other. And that's why I think stats are always misleading, because it's who you play and when you play them. And at the end of the year, I think it gives you a picture of who you were, but during it, it's kind of like a game. It's just part of it, and we just got to keep going. And but I don't know why, but I do think there's some really good football players and coaches in this league. I do believe that.
Just to follow on your defense and the impact it's had on your offense, having those looks in practice, Joel talked about just amping up the aggressiveness or their approach each week.
Yeah, I think it helps, when you have a chance to go against each other, and we do that quite a bit, continuing through the season. And I think we all get better by competing, and you get better by going against the best. And I think that's one of the things that maybe helps a guy like Bo Benchwell goes in for his first start, but he's also faced, he's lined up against and pass protected against Shobes or Vince, so you gain some confidence. If I can hold up here, then I've got a chance against my opponent. And I think that can kind of be, you hope that carries over across the board, on both sides of the ball. And even special teams try to get competitive with it. And hopefully that helps guys that are just starting to get their first real game experience, give them some. And then you're talking about Joel that's played a lot of games. And still when he can be challenged by the defense, I think that's good for growth.
Paul, when a coach is new, first or second year, whether it's going well or not, it's often said that, well, he's not coaching his guys, referring to his recruits. How important is it for a coach to have his recruits in his system?
I've always, I chose to come here. I chose to join this team. And I feel really fortunate to coach these players. And every time I've coached, I've thought of them as, they're never your guys. You get to coach these players. And so I don't agree with that statement at all. And I think that's, I've been around too many, and some of the relationships and guys that I've coached have been, we both came together different ways. And I think a coach, you get to coach the players there, and you build those relationships and you help them. And I don't buy into this. I don't think they're ever your guys. You know what I mean? We're all part of a team, and we get to coach, they get to play. We get to do it together.
Anything else for Coach? All right.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Paul.